I'm Allison Kendall, your worship associate for today's service. Welcome to our Requiem service with music by our own choir. It feels like this terrible year, 2020, has been one crisis after another in an endless ordeal that seems far more than 1 year long. In this year marked by the pandemic, economic turmoil, fires, hurricanes, police brutality, racial tension, and a contentious election, we've also lost so many precious lives. All too often, each of us have come close to losing hope for the future as well. This year, the choir presents its Requiem service to honor all that is lost, and we dedicate this service to those lost over the past year. Specifically, we honor our healthcare and essential workers. We honor justice leaders, Ruth Bader Ginsburg and John Lewis, and the countless Black lives that have been lost to systemic brutality, George Floyd and Breonna Taylor among them. And we also honor the lives lost to the wildfires and COVID-19 pandemic. We'll also take time today to honor members of our own church community who've died over the past year, moving from this life on earth to join their ancestors. They include partners, parents, and dear friends who have sustained us over the years and whose loss weighs heavily on us. Their memory lives on us, and we can best honor them with our own words, songs, and deeds. We'll also dedicate some new memorial bricks in our church's Garden of Eternity in honor of those who have left us. May the music offered in this service be meditative, reflective, and healing, ushering us to a more hopeful tomorrow. We begin with the Lament, composed by Mark Miller in response to the killing of George Floyd earlier this year.
My heart is breaking, my fury shaking, my soul is tired, my breath is gone. I ask how long, Lord, this evil season, unending pain and tears.
My heart is breaking, my fury shaking, my soul is tired, my breath is gone. I cry, how long, Lord, this evil season, unending pain and tears.
Use our anger to melt the swords of hate. Use our tears to water thirsty ground. Give us courage to love all you create. Come to us and turn the world around. Come hearts are breaking, our fury shaking, our souls are tired, our breath is gone. We cry, how long, Lord, this evil season, unending pain and tears.
Please join me in lighting the chalice and reciting these words. In our time of grief, we light a flame of sharing, the flame of ongoing life. In this time when we search for understanding and serenity in the face of loss, we light this sign of our quest for truth, meaning, and community. For this Requiem service, we light our chalice with music from Schindler's List and violin by Becky Erskine.
band, done with all my worldly ways, join that heavenly band. Oh, my Lord, what a morning, my Lord, what a morning, oh, my Lord, what a morning, when the stars begin to fall, when the stars begin to fall.
Welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Community Church of Santa Monica. I'm the Reverend Jeremiah Kalendae, and I serve this congregation as its developmental minister. Our worship team, who you will be meeting throughout this service, is delighted to be joining you in our online sanctuary this morning. This morning's Requiem is a special music service to honor all those who have died in our congregation, in the larger world, and those living among us, healthcare workers, essential workers, and others who have supported us and our dearly departed. If you are new to our community, please know that our church is open, our building is closed, and there are many ways to become involved with our community. We offer a multitude of programs to serve the needs of our congregation and to be of service to the larger world. If you're interested in learning more, please join us for our virtual visitor meetup after the service. Unitarian Universalism is a liberal religious movement with over 1,000 congregations that gather each week to inspire religious learning, provide education for our young people, and care for those who are suffering, and promote justice and equity in our world. Our liberal religious tradition arises from scripture and science, nature and philosophy, personal experience, and ancient traditions. We are guided by liberal religious principles that affirm the inherent worth and dignity of every person, encourage a personal search for truth and meaning, and we honor the mystery and wonder of our lives and affirm that we are all connected to one another and to that interdependent web of all life. We are a welcoming community with a rich history of activism for women's rights, civil rights, and LGBTIAQ rights. We affirm a diversity of religious beliefs and philosophies of life and strive to dwell together in peace and with goodwill and love. We invite you to join us in co-creating this beloved community. Please visit our website at UUSM.org or our online newsletter at news.uusm.org for more information about the activities of the church and ways to get involved. You may also want to sign up for our weekly e-newsletter on our website. As we begin this morning, we want to acknowledge that our church building and the homes of most of our members are on the traditional, ancestral, and unceded land of the Tongva people who lived here and cared for this land for thousands of years. This land was stolen from the Tongva by colonial settlers. And we recognize and mourn the often deadly harm inflicted on the indigenous peoples of this nation. We lift up their grace and their fortitude and their sacred relationship with these lands. Now, many people have contributed to this service. In addition to our talented musicians and our skillful video editor and music director, Sonder Choi, not to mention tech support by Pam Teplitz and Liz Fuller, we want to extend a special thank you to Narit Gordon, Charles Haskell, and Joyce Holman, who assisted our worship associate, Allison Kendall, with collecting the photographs and memories of the church members who died in the past year and those who are the subject of our memorial brick dedication this morning. I have one announcement this morning. As we prepare to create our annual ofrenda, or altar of offering for our beloved dead service next Sunday, you're invited to bring pictures, mementos, marigold flowers, fruit, or other offerings to be placed on the ofrenda in the sanctuary. You can drop items off to be included in the service next week on Tuesday or Wednesday from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. You may want to call ahead to let the staff know you're stopping by to drop items off. Please be sure to wear a mask, to practice social distancing, and to label anything that you would like to pick up the following week. Come now, let us worship together.
Within our darkest night, you kindle the fire that never dies away, never dies away. Within our darkest night, you kindle the fire that never dies away, never dies away. Within our darkest night, you kindle the fire that never dies away, never dies away. Within our darkest night, you kindle the fire that never dies away, never dies away.
El amor es la enseñanza de esta iglesia.
Love is the doctrine of this church.
Buscar la verdad es su sacramento y el servicio es la oración.
The quest for truth is its sacrament, and service is its prayer.
Vivir juntos en paz.
To dwell together in peace.
Buscar el conocimiento en la libertad.
To seek knowledge in freedom.
Servir a la humanidad en comunión.
To serve humankind in fellowship.
Así es como convenimos unos a otros.
Thus do we covenant with each other.
From all that dwell below the skies, let songs of hope and faith arise. Let peace, goodwill,
Good morning. This morning's story is about death and grief, but maybe not in the way you think. So once upon a time, 4 siblings lived with their grandmother. Now she was very, very old. And over the course of a few days, her breathing had gotten raspier and raspier and further and further spaced apart, and the kids knew that time was short, that death was coming for their grandmother. But these kids were plucky, and so they made a plan. They knew death would come at night, and so all they had to do was stall him until morning. Simple enough. So one night, the door blows open, and Death is standing in the doorway. Now he's placed his scythe by the door because he doesn't want to scare them. He's just here to do his job. And he makes his way across the kitchen, and the kids stare. And then the oldest boy says, "Well, would you like to have a cup of coffee before you go to work?" And Death, wanting to be polite, knowing what's coming, says yes. And so they offer him coffee. And then cake. And then they start asking him about his job and how did he get his job. And they were stalling. And this whole time, the only one who could look him in the eye was the youngest, Leia. And man, the stare of a 6-year-old, it's very intense. And so Death decided that he needed to make things easier, to help them understand. So he said, "Let me tell you a story. Now, once upon a time, there was a valley. It was a dark and somber valley. And there lived 2 brothers, Sorrow and Grief. And they lived a life that was heavy. And they always looked at the ground and lived in the shadows, and because they never looked up and away from the life that they lived, they never saw that there were shadows at the top of the mountains that made up the valley. And so, what they didn't know was that on the other side of one of those mountains lived 2 sisters, Joy and Delight, who lived in a bright, sunny mountaintop with flowers, but something about their life felt a little hollow. Now, one day the sisters decided to go on an adventure, as sisters do, and so they ventured down into the valley. Now, at this point, back in the kitchen, as Death is telling the story, Leia, her eyes get big because she knows what's coming in the story. And Death continues, and he says, "Well, the 2 sisters met the 2 brothers that day. And they fell in love, and they got married, and they became 2 perfect couples. Sorrow and joy, grief and delight. Perfectly balanced. Can't have one without the other. I mean, you can, but it's a little less complete feeling." Death went on to say, "It's like night and day. You don't really appreciate the sun if there is no night and moon to balance it out. What is love if you do not understand how to hate something or really dislike something? The world is all about balance. And so, there is life. There is also death. It's why people live to their fullest. It's why they go on adventures. It's why they make mistakes and they go to parties and they read books, because they know there will come a time when they can't." And he pushed back from the table, and began to make his way upstairs, and the youngest brother went to stop him, but his older brother put a hand on his shoulder and shook his head. And the children all sat at the table and waited and listened. And then they heard the window open and the wind blow, and they could hear Death whisper, "Fly, soul, and they knew that she was gone. They all ran upstairs to see, and they knew, but they also could hear the whisper as the wind blew through the window. Cry, heart, but never break. Use this end as a new beginning. And so, with a better understanding of life and also death, the four siblings ventured out to begin a new life. And that's our story for this morning.
Return again, return again, return to the home of your soul. Return again, return again, return to the home of your soul. Return to who you are, return to what you are, return to where you are, born and reborn again. Return to who you are, return to what you are, return to where you are, born and reborn again.
A bright sunrise will contradict the heavy fog that weighs you down. In spite of all the funeral songs, the birds will make their joyful sounds. You'll wonder why the earth still moves. You'll wonder how to carry on. But you'll be okay on that first day when I'm gone. You will reach for me in vain. You'll be whispering my name as if sorrow were your friend, and this world so alien. But life will call with daffodils and morning glorious blue skies. You'll think of me, some memory, and softly smile to your surprise. And even though you love me still, you'll know where you belong. Just give it time, we'll both be fine. When I'm gone.
share memories with a meditation on the UUSM members lost over the past year. We've lost many members, and I'll provide a brief biography of each one, accompanied by photos and memories provided by their family members and friends. We remember these members of our church community who died over the past year. Our hearts go out to the family and friends who contributed the photos and memories for each member and recognize their unique contribution to our community. Harvey Conrad Bjornli was born in 1932 and died this year in 2020. Harvey combined his love of design and mechanical engineering in a professional life at Douglas Aircraft and McDonnell Douglas with missile systems and then the interiors of the Skylab, America's first space station, and in pioneering work on fiber optic technology. Arriving from Montana as newlyweds, Harvey and Shyla joined our church, where his free-thinking ways, artistic interests, and offbeat sense of humor, and Shyla's more traditional love of fellowship were welcomed. Family vacations were car camping trips and dirt motorcycle bike riding through the West, as well as sailing. He and Shyla taught youth by leading hikes with the Topanga Canyon docents. They're survived by their 4 children, Dana, Andrea, Stuart, and Kara Bjornli. Shayla Bjornli was also born in 1932 and died this year. Wisconsin-born Shayla Lee Peterson met Harvey Bjornli in Montana during her college summer vacation. Their family life together included cultural and artistic expression, enjoying the outdoors, entertaining friends, and baking. Shyla played the piano, string bass, and recorder, and served on the board of the Chamber Music Palisades, as well as volunteering regularly at our church and starting countless knitting and weaving projects. After 1989, Shayla and Harvey split their time between Pacific Palisades and their mountain cabin outside Great Falls, Montana. Shayla's deep commitment to everything that she held dear, marriage, motherhood, democracy, nature, and humanitarianism, inspired everyone she knew. William Wilson Blake, or Bill Blake, was born in 1936 and died this year. Sacramento's young tennis champ loved the world of ideas. He and his wife Doris had 2 children, Raymond and Marina. After a sociology degree from Berkeley and an English degree from San Francisco State, Bill began teaching community college for almost 4 decades. An extraordinary listener, never judgmental about the content of their essays, he loved creatively teaching immigrants and first-generation college students to write. Bill explored and read widely, looking into the meaning of life and increasingly focusing on consciousness and awareness. His book, The Creative Toolkit of Meditation, allowed him to explore further the subject of meditation, which he taught elsewhere and here at church. He and his wife, Heiko Salibian, were involved in many church activities. Bill is survived by Heiko, his brother and sister, his children, his stepsons, Rafi and Saro, and his grandchildren. Joanne Brownlee was born in 1932 and died this year. She moved here from Prescott, Arizona, and participated actively in UUSM for several years. She loved attending small group ministry, Second Sunday Supper, and the Oz groups. She brought the idea of empty bowls to UUSM, and that event was very successful. She leaves behind her daughter, Beth Brownlee, our president, and grandchildren Alex and Spencer Michelson and Ian Oakes, all members of UUSM. Len Harris was born in 1923 and was an ardent humanist. He helped establish our Atheists, Agnostics, Humanist Society, or Oz program. He promoted this program from a table in Forbes Hall well into his 90s. Jerry Lamson was born in 1935 and was a teacher most of her life, but earned a PhD in anatomy in later life and became a science writer. She's survived by 3 children and 3 grandchildren. She joined UUSM about 20 years ago and is remembered for her wit and work as a copy editor of the newsletter for many years, and for creating the Undie Sundays program of Faith in Action, which collected new packages of underwear for the homeless. Dela MacDonald was born in 1945 and died this year. She sang in our choir and was editor-in-chief of our newsletter for many years. She left our church to care for her aging parents, but maintained many close friendships with members of the church. James Jim Morrison was born in 1927 and died last year at the age of 92. His working years were spent in the aerospace industry. He's survived by his wife, Helene, his son, Tom, 5 grandchildren, and 2 great-grandchildren. Unlike Helene, he never joined our church, but he enjoyed the men's group and took the Build Your Own Theology course taught by Ernie Pipes in the early 1980s. Joan Rayleigh was born in 1937 and died this year. Bonnie Bray and Joan Rayleigh have been best friends since 4th grade in Burbank. They walked to school together, sang in the choir, spent hours at church, and were camp counselors together. Their group of high school friends is still close, sharing good times and supporting each other during sad and trying ones. Joan became a registered nurse, and later, with a doctorate in psychology, she continued her caring for people. She loved and supported her 3 kids and her grandkids, and continued to be a friend to everyone. She was a member of 4 California UU congregations, including ours, where Joan helped establish the Caring Committee in the 1980s. Carol Kramer Serling was born in 1930 and died this year. Carol and her husband Rod Serling, the author of the Twilight Zone television series, was a member of the church for many years and attended services regularly. After Rod's untimely death in 1975, Carol managed his literary assets, providing access to his work and giving younger generations an opportunity to hear his messages of humanity, history, and morality. She was a passionate supporter of many causes, most notably environmental, wildlife, women's issues, liberal politics, and education. Carol is survived by 2 daughters and their families. We'll now take some time to dedicate the new memorial bricks in our Garden of Eternity. As many of you know, I was involved in the design of the Garden of Eternity in memory of my own sister Julie, who died in 2011. The Garden of Eternity was created next to the sanctuary to provide a quiet place to remember beloved church and family members who have died. Church members can request and donate memorial bricks engraved with the names of their beloved family and friends, and that are then placed in a basket weave pattern in the garden patio. Together, the woven pattern reminds us of the unique and irreplaceable value of each person and the beloved community we create together, which endures and supports us in times of loss. Today we dedicate memorial bricks for the following church members. and the Women's Alliance were founded at the same time. Over 9 decades, the Women's Alliance provided an opportunity for women within the church to promote the living tradition and provide ordinary and extraordinary opportunities for women to exchange ideas, enhance their leadership skills, share worship, raise significant funds and decide how to donate them, and participate in UU activities. Many cherished lifelong friendships and a great deal of personal growth ensued. Some members of the Alliance also met every week as the Sewing Group. Their handmade items raised money that continued the outreach into the wider world. We dedicate these engraved bricks in memory of these people and groups as part of our Garden of Eternity and honor their contribution towards our beloved community.
And so we come with the gift of our love and the tribute of our sorrow to bless our church home as the special place of remembrance, to bless our garden of eternity. Let us invite into this sacred time the names of those who have gone before, inviting their memories or presences into this service. I invite you to speak aloud from your home those who you wish to remember in this requiem. I will ring the singing bowl once to begin our time for naming the names of our loved ones and friends who have passed beyond the horizon of this life, and I will ring it a second time to end our time of naming. Because they are remembered, they live.
Life has taught me this. Every day is new. And if anything is true, all that matters when we're through is how we love. Faced with what we lack, some things fall apart, but from the ashes new dreams start. All that matters to the heart is how we love. How we love. How we love. From the smallest act of kindness in a world, a smile, a touch. In spite of our mistakes, chances come again. If we lose or if we win, all that matters in the end is how we live. in this world of right and wrong. All that matters when we're gone, all that mattered all along, all we have that carries on is how we love.
Our reading today is Instructions by Arnold Crompton. When I have moved beyond you in the adventure of life, gather in some pleasant place, and there remember me with spoken words, old and new. Let a tear fall if you will, but let a smile come quickly, for I have loved the laughter of life. Do not linger too long with your solemnities. Go eat and drink and talk, and when you can, follow a woodland trail, climb a high mountain, chew the thoughts of some book which challenges your soul. Use your hands some bright day to make a thing of beauty, or to lift someone's heavy load. Though you mention not my name, though no thought of me crosses your mind, I shall be with you, for these have been realities of life to me. And though you mention not my name, when you face some crisis with anguish, when you choose your paths of right, when you give yourself in love, I shall be very close to you. I have followed the valleys, I have climbed the heights of life.
I have just a few pastoral notes before we enter our time for mindfulness, prayer, and meditation. Kakanza Nuri Robbins and I were delighted to attend the annual Celebrating Success breakfast of the West Side Coalition this past week. The West Side Coalition is an alliance of currently 65 organizations, of which we are a part, that are committed to working collaboratively on issues of housing, hunger, and health through service coordination, public education, and advocacy. Our very own Dr. Charles Haskell was this year's Partnership Award recipient, and we want to celebrate with him and acknowledge his many years of service to this organization and to our church. Sarah May shares that Hugo is now recovering at home following his recent hospitalization. You can send cards of support for Hugo and Sarah May to their address, which is listed in the directory. Hugo and Sarah May, you are in our hearts, and know that you can call upon this beloved community in the days ahead. We are continuing to hold Shayla Metzger in the light of beloved community, as she recently lost her partner, Maria Gonzalez, to complications of ALS. We are also continuing to hold Gila and her family and her mother, who recently passed away in Iran, in the light of beloved community. Lastly, I am happy to share that our longtime church members, Amy and Bruno, welcomed their second grandchild in October 14th, a healthy little boy born to their older daughter, Lucy, Matea Angel weighing in at just under 9 pounds. Congratulations. Sadly, however, just a few days later, Bruno's mother passed away in Montreal at the age of 96. Being barred from visiting her, Bruno and Amy are very grateful that their cousin Diane was able to be at her side, holding her hand as she passed. Honoring all of these in the light of beloved community, I offer this mindfulness prayer by Laura Holton Ludwig, and will then hold space for minutes of silent meditation. Spirit of life, Spirit of love, we come today carrying our grief, our memories, and our love. We gather around screens and devices, reaching out with our minds and hearts to join in this most ancient of human customs, honoring those whom we love who have died. In this moment, let us know that we are connected to all who have ever loved and mourned, going back through countless generations, reaching back into deep time as time stops for a moment, and we are one with the eternal mystery of life and death. Breathing in the stillness, let us ground down and feel the deep earth supporting us, the trees overhead sheltering us, and the sky above us connecting us to the universe itself. We know so little of where we come from or where we will go when this life is done. But breathing in the stillness, may we know that we are one, that we are held, that love abides. Let us be in silence together, each adding our own silent prayers and meditations as our hearts lead us. Let us meditate now together in the silence. Amen, and blessed be. I invite you to join me in the responsive reading, A Litany of Remembrance by Rabbis Slavan Kamens and Jack Reamer. The response is, we remember them. In the rising of the sun and in its going down, we remember them. In the blowing of the wind and in the chill of winter, we remember them. In the opening of buds and in the rebirth of spring, we remember them. In the blueness of the sky and in the warmth of the summer, we remember them. In the rustling of leaves and in the beauty of autumn, we remember them. In the beginning of the year and when it ends, we remember them. When we are weary and in need of strength, we remember them. When we are lost and sick at heart, we remember them. When we have joys we yearn to share, we remember them. So long as we live, they too shall live, for they now are a part of us as we remember them. As our service nears its conclusion, we would like to dedicate the following music to the heroes in our larger community, healthcare workers and essential workers and others who have sacrificed so much to put the welfare of others before their own and to care for those who were at risk, ill, or dying. We are grateful for your ongoing service, whether it be in intensive care units, hospices, grocery and retail stores, or out on farms and in the fields. You remind us of the best of humanity and of our own capacities to reach for such heights in our own lives. Thank you.
In the canyons of death, friends lie in a daze, silently fighting their way through the haze. Many unconscious to all sight and sound, though they lie there unmoving, they are heroes all around.
In apartments and wards, the angels descend to cool a fever, to sit with a friend, to fill in the void where no family is found. Though they never admit it, they are heroes all around.
They're out there right now, fighting a war, creating miracles, working for more. Their deeds unrewarded, their glory uncrowned. No missions recorded, but there are heroes all around. We all can be heroes by giving a hand, running an errand, or making a stand. Let's fight heaven's sorrow with feet on the ground. In the war for tomorrow, we need heroes all around. We need heroes. We need heroes. We need heroes.
Our offering today, during the month of October, 50% of our offering will go to the UU Disaster Relief Fund. The other 50% supports our church programs. Our Disaster Relief Fund is part of a covenant between the UUA and congregations who give generously to those in need and with our community partners. Through aiding our congregations, their members, and their community partners, we embody our faith and values. Please give generously so that the UU Disaster Relief Fund can continue its important work in this challenging time. Please note there are 3 ways to give: text, website, or mail a check. If you're giving by texting on your smartphone, text 844-982-0209 and put the amount you wish to donate in the body of the text with the letters GCC, which stands for Generous Congregation Contribution. The first time you give this way, you'll be asked to set it up. After that, it will be simple. Again, the number is 844-982-0209. Easy text giving makes a big difference. Donations of any amount are gratefully accepted. For more information on giving, you can focus your phone camera on the QR code in the corner of this screen. Thank you for your generosity.
Smile, though your heart is aching. Smile, even though it's breaking. When there are clouds in the sky, you'll get by. If you smile through your tears and sorrow, smile and maybe tomorrow you'll see the sun come shining through for you. Light up your face with gladness, hide every trace of sadness. Although a tear may be ever so near, that's the time you must keep on trying. Smile, what's the use of crying? You'll find that life is still worthwhile if you just smile. That's the time you must keep on trying. Smile, what's the use of crying? You'll find that life is still worthwhile if you just smile.
Having invoked their presences and memories, and having added names to the bricks in our garden of eternity, We celebrate their spirits, and we are grateful they had lived. We are glad for their love, their companionship, their wisdom, and we still feel the glow of their spirits. We cherish the memory of their commitment to their family and community and all of their kindness and love. In love, we will remember them. And so, thinking of them, let us go in quietness and peace, perhaps to live our lives a bit more nobly and lovingly. Now may the love of family and friends, and the radiance of beautiful memories, and the fellowship of that enduring spirit of life sustain you and abide with you this day and forever. Go and be blessed, and be a blessing.